I think that obviously people from the outside looking in can look at it like this is super personal to me. This is I've worked so hard for so long. This is one of those spillover events where soccer moms are buying the pay-per-view and watching it at big parties and stuff. And this is how the night ends. It's just really disgusting and disappointing for me.
I don't know how many soccer moms got together and had a party to buy that, but we will discuss. I'm Dan Wetzel. This is Kevin Iole. We are here after the mayhem of 229 UFC. That was Dana White talking there. Kevin, obviously, everything went haywire at the end. Was this a bad night for the UFC or a good night for the UFC?
I don't think it was a really terrible night for the UFC. I don't think it was the kind of night that Dana White wanted to have. I think he wanted to get all the slaps on the back afterwards. Great event, great show. We broke records. We made a ton of money. We have an undefeated champion who people are going to be talking about for years. That's what he wanted. But the way this ended, Dan, I don't think there was too many people offended. Maybe Governor Sandoval was offended. He was hustled out and taken out quickly. But I think this is one of those things that people, hey, this is why they buy the UFC. You never know what might happen. Anything can happen. Sometimes does. We saw it tonight.
Absolutely. That's my opinion on this. Look, if you were offended by the fight after, as long as fans weren't attacked and hurt, but
right.
If you were offended by that, you're not going to be a UFC fan. Okay, the UFC is not for everybody. There are certain people who don't want to go with the violence. It's too much for them. That's fine. There's plenty who do. I think most people who either saw it for the first time or saw it for the first time in a while went nuts with it. And then the viral nature of it, the coolness, the edge, the politically incorrect, I think this was a great night.
It was a great night. I mean, you had Derek Lewis's knockout late in the fight. It was an incredible knockout. If you haven't seen that, you got to find the highlight. It was incredible. Then you have the fight between Tony Ferguson
and the comedy he does,
and the comedy in the ring afterwards.
Ferguson Pettis is an incredible fight.
The second round might have been the best round in UFC history. And you go to the main event and you have this unbeaten champion who's trying to make his name. He submits Conor McGregor in a dominant performance, and you're going, bingo, this is exactly what they want. And then all of a sudden the guy goes jumping over the top.
They go 11. They go from 10 to 11.
But here's the thing.
You're entertained.
I've covered the fight game for over 30 years. And I've been in a lot worse stuff than this. And, the thing Dana White referenced at the post-fight press conference was the Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield bite night. I was there sitting in the first row. I had people coming from behind me, step on my seat, knock my laptop down to jump into the ring. And then I was in the casino when shots were fired, and I'm trying to find out what was going on. And there was glass broken, and I saw NBA players turning over blackjack tables. And there was a lot of civil unrest in Las Vegas that night. It was a pretty crazy night. People were injured. A lot of things happened. This was not that. It was confined. If you take away those 10 minutes, or maybe even less than 10 minutes, it really wasn't that crazy of a night.
No, and law enforcement did a great job. Security did a great job. The UFC planned for the mayhem because this had gotten so heated. When we sat down at our press table, there was a barrier between us so that if a fight broke out, they couldn't get to us. Right. Now, I've never seen that at a sporting
event. First time I can ever remember.
So they did all they could do, and then Khabib jumps the fence. Guys are jumping in. Look, they need to prevent that. I think this is a loss for Khabib. He could have had a really positive night. But overall, you put down your money. They ask people to spend a lot of money to be a fan of this sport. Either buying it at your house or having people over to try to cut the costs or go out to the bar that has it. You have to put a lot of money into this. But the thing about the UFC is you never know what you're going to get. You almost always get something highly entertaining. Even when the main event is a dud, something lower in the card is good. And that's why it appeals when boxing doesn't. Because boxing doesn't build out that whole card.
Dan, the thing I would say about this was the people who came to watch this, even the people like Dana says, the soccer moms, I don't know how many of those there were, who watched for the first time, I don't think they thought they were going to watch the Metropolitan Opera. They knew that, hey, they were going to have some blood, they were going to have some craziness go on. It was maybe unexpected craziness, but you telling me they weren't going, oh my God, look at that. They were having fun when that happened. The only people who probably weren't having fun were the people trying to break it up and the people in the front row who were worried what might happen.
Hey, here's the thing. They fight it again, it's going to be even bigger. That's how the UFC got so big. Kevin Iole, Dan Wetzel in Vegas, UFC 229. We will not have a brawl after this segment.